It's very clearly like these are dudes who are unwilling to stray from what is right and what is true, and they're also willing to serve others and seek out the benefit of others.
Welcome back to Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast, guys. I have the privilege of sitting here with the Nathaniel Hummel. The Nathaniel Hummel who's got his debut new novel coming out, dude. Treasure is My Trade.
Treasure is My Trade, dude.
What a sick title.
Definitely an homage to Stephen Marlowe's Chester Drum character. He has a book called Terror is My Trade, kind of like what you did with Fire in the Tall Grass and Death in the Long. Yeah, dude.
There's death in the long grass and fire in the tall grass.
You gotta give
credit.
Where credit's due.
Yep.
There's a saying: if you're gonna borrow from the best. So I think that just like also, to your point, we were talking about this title because I originally had a different working title and it only covered like one aspect of the novel. It was very much like the noir aspect, but this book's like much more high adventure in my opinion. So it was like, all right. Maybe we got to shift from this bad boy and go to something else. And you said that it would be a great thing to do that because it would really kind of point people to what they can expect from something that came before.
Right.
And I think that Chester Drum's the most high adventure detective that's ever been written. Until now, unfortunately. Sorry, Chet. Don't mean to dethrone you. But because that's the thing is that Nate Cole is written for the purpose of high adventure. Chet Drum was written for like sick adventures. So basically, and I've talked about this before, it's my number one favorite book series. The first one and I think the last one are my two favorite books of all time, and everything in between also fills out the ranks up there. But every book, he's tough as nails, private detective. I think he's 6 foot, 200 pounds, just absolute beast. And he always ends up first half of the book or first portion of the book is in one area, and then the next half he has to go to a different country. Or maybe it happens in the first third. Second third through the end is in a different country. And it's just like literally the coolest. He always sneaks in his .357 Magnum, dude, in the shoulder holster on the plane. He's always like, I didn't talk about it on the customs form, but they never check. And then there's always like one book, I think someone's like ruffling around in his bag. He's like, am I gonna have to just sock this guy and make a run for it?
That's amazing.
It's so cool. It's written in the 50s, so it was much easier, I guess, to sneak a gun on a plane back those days.
Yeah, I'd say
but check that book out. Little pre-show recommendation from me.
Right.
Check out any of the Chester Drum books. Great.
And
stories.
that's the best part of this this genre, how it's ever evolving and ever kind of like building upon itself for the next generation, for the next reader. Like you're going to answer the question for this generation of who is Chester Drum. It's like, who is Nate Cole? Like that story that needs to be read by that person now has a contemporary version. Kind of like Rocky and Creed, dude. I always love and want more Creeds and want more just so that it continues the legacy of Rocky. Not that they're in the same franchise, so that's a very different kind of example. But these things that
it's also like too like, dude, how sick would it be if in 15, 20 years Creed has a new character that he takes on and he like kind of just continues the legacy, dude? Because I feel like Michael B. Jordan loves that character, so it wouldn't make sense for him to it would make sense for him to just keep being like, yeah, dude, let's keep the legacy rocking and rolling, dude.
I have a theory that the next one for sure going to be his daughter.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be training her. Yeah, because she was in the last one, like learning how to box a little bit.
Dude, that's so cool.
She's young right now, so that'd be the one issue. They either had to time jump or it won't come out for a while.
Right. Just
because I imagine I wouldn't be too interested in like seeing a 15-year-old.
Yeah. The stakes are so low.
Yeah. But hey, it worked for the Contender, so
there you go. Dude.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But no reason we need to be talking about Creed right now. We haven't even done the intro for the topic, so I'll rein it back in. And I'll say that today is going to be a different kind of feel, more, I don't know if casual is even going to end up being the right word, because this might get super deep and intense, but it's going to be a different kind of take. There's no set topic, but there is kind of a larger idea we want to circle, And it all starts with a story from you, Nathaniel, that you can kind of tee up and
Yeah, for sure.
set us off with. So to inform the people, what are we talking about?
Yeah, dude, this is honestly, it is pretty heavy. In this story, I sent it to Luke, and I didn't even have to explain it. It was literally, I just sent him a video, and he was like, "Dang, that's heavy." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I explained. He's like, "I already knew, dude. Just from the picture, that's all I needed to know." So I'm a delivery driver, and the past month or so, I've been delivering to the same area every once in a while, and it's this little like kind of circle of a neighborhood, and every single time I've delivered there, I think I've delivered there 4 times maybe. There's this dog, and he is just like a beast of a dog. Like when you picture like dangerous dog, but kind of in a good way, like this dog is if there's a scale in the middle is like docile, he's all the way at the like ready to just be an actual animal again. He's not like a tame dog, and he's standing there. He's in a 40-foot or so by 40-foot chain linked backyard. And now this cuts straight to the heart of the problem here. You probably heard that and you're like, "Damn, that dog's got a lot of space." And that is not the case, dude. That's the whole entire problem. And he's sitting there, and there is a beautiful luscious grass all around the thing. The front portion of that thing, the first 2 feet, are just totally dirt, because he's sitting there watching every person that goes by, and he's got his hackles up, and he's locked in, and he's looking at them, and he's running back and forth, chasing the cars back and forth, and he's just like literally, dude, a caged animal. And I see that dog, and every time I see him, I think like that dog was made to be doing stuff. He wasn't made to be stuck in this 40-foot cage or 40 square foot cage, whatever it is. And I relate to that. And I literally, every time I say, I'm like, dude, that's me, right? Like,
Right.
I'm here, like, ready to do something. I don't know what it is, but I'm stuck here. I'm locked in. I don't know if it's just the societal constraints or my own mental constraints, but
Right.
it is just kind of, it is what it is. Like, we were made for something, and we can't do it. And I'm digging that path, ruining that grass, dude, trying to figure out what's going on. So I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, dude. As you were saying it there too, telling the story, it works almost as this like perfect kind of like poem or like short story you would get in Hemingway's work or something. You know, and it's just like this deep thing, because I think men hearing this, and they're all gonna resonate. Like you said, you sent the picture and like the video of that happening, and we talked about it, and we didn't have to even explain it. It was just, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's that feeling of like restlessness, and that's the quiet desperation that's been talked about and quoted that way. It's like there's something in us wild at heart, right? Our hearts are wild. There's something in us that just wants to, I don't know, be what is the question, I guess, because I don't even know. It wants to be free. It wants to be fighting. It just wants to be on fire for something. And it's like, yeah, to your point, the humdrum of like life and things that people complain about, you know, cubicle lifestyle and not seeing sunlight and being, you know, sitting constantly on our phones constantly. It's these things kind of like further erode, further degrade our soul and our spirit and our wild hearts. We become that caged dog, and it just is the perfect analogy.
Right.
You see that in it, dude. Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's the Bible verse, and I'm gonna butcher it because I don't have it off the top of my head. But God literally made Adam and Eve, and then He said, "Go, like, take the land and make it your own," you know. And it's just like, that's off the table for the most part, you know. Like the frontiersman spirit, the cowboy spirit, all of the men's adventure fiction spirit is kind of just like cut off at the knees, because we talked about this across the board on so many different things, but it's like you just can't do these things as well anymore. And there are certain people who are living adventurous lives, like there's police officers, people in the military, sometimes like the loggers are probably having some crazy stuff, or arborists, and a bunch of other different things. But that's the problem, right? Those are the exceptions. but that is a very small portion of the population who is getting to actually live out the way that they should be living. I think that we talked about this kind of in the first episode or in the first several episodes, where it's like, yeah, it is good that I can go to the grocery store and buy eggs for my family. Like right. I'm happy that my family can survive, that I don't have to, I'm not out there in the middle of the winter praying that I'm going to see a deer in an over-hunted area because everyone's doing the same thing. Like, it's nice to have some sort of security, some sort of safety. Right. But I fear that the thing that we've given up too much in our safety, that we now are just like that dog, dude. I mean, he's literally sitting there in that cage, and you can see just like he's ready to go. He's ready to be on an adventure. He's ready to be chasing rabbits, chasing deer. He's a big dog, dude. You could probably take him down. And I think that that's what it is. It's like, all this dog can think is like, man, I hate those cars. I hate that person walking the dog. I want to be fighting them, And he can't even like process that he's not where he should be. He can't even like think I should be in the mountains hunting deer with like 6 other dogs, dude. Right. I am more wolf than I am dog. You know what I mean? Like he should be out there, dude. And I think that that's true of us as well. As it's like, we're sitting here going through these lives of quiet desperation, like you said, and we're seeing the things that are good in our lives, and we're like, dude, I hate this. I hate that I'm going to a job that pays the bills and I have no fulfillment in my life. And I hate that like Barney in HR keeps being a dick to me and I just want to punch him and I can't do anything about it. It's like I hate that there's all these different things that are just locking me in. And it's like, dude, Barney's not the problem. You shouldn't be even worried about Barney. You should be worried about the 500 sword-wielding bandits that are coming to attack your house. And you know that you're the one thing keeping your family safe. And you have to face that, dude. And this is the thing. It's like we've gotten so... Because that's another thing that you could get into, kind of like this new age, like be a man, like punch the dude. And it's like, dude, that is just a symptom of the problem, like I shouldn't even care. Like there's a coworker that I have that just looking at him he annoys the heck out of me, dude. Mm-hmm. And it's like, he should never even be in my mind, right? Like, because I should be focused on those dudes, they're like the 500 guys that are coming to kill me. I should be focused on much larger things. It's the same thing as the dog. Like, he's looking at these cars that are just a minor inconvenience, when in reality, he should be the king of the jungle, dude, the king of the mountain, and he's just like totally lost in the stuff that matters not at all. And I think that that's where we find ourselves today,
That's, really well said, is we make these private wars in our heads with like situations that should not matter, don't need to matter. We don't have to invest ourselves that thoroughly in it, and that we people aren't having that struggle or that process of individuation where they're like, striving towards something. They're making their personalities these grievances and stuff like that. Or the other thing is with like the depression rates and people just being kind of apathetic to life, is when you see that dog in the cage turn more to like the zooed lions, that are just like sitting there all depressed, just like, dude, you're the ultimate predator, and you're sitting there looking, just flat and like you have no purpose, and that's that cuts at a lot of this too. Is like whatever your heart is on fire for, like it's that feeling like I have what it takes. I have meaning, I have purpose, I have direction and competency to move forward in that area. And so for like us in this generation, it's like finding that purpose, finding what am I supposed to do here. And that is one aspect. And I feel like I spent so much of my younger years trying to conquer that aspect and kind of find that thing. And then that ultimately turned into what we're doing here, what we're doing with Veritas, what, the filmmaking and the writing books and all of that. But that's clearly not fully it, because I still have that same, like, that adventure itch, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I need to do, and we've had this conversation before, you and I, where I'm like, I need to do something, but I don't even know what. Like you said, I'm the dog. Like, I caught up to the car. What do I do now? I don't know.
What I do now.
Yeah, so it's like, there is something beyond just like the career pursuit, because I feel like a lot of men do just identify and adjust to like, all right, let me learn what I want to do for a living and make money, and then that's like my quest and that's my battle. But that's not fully it, at least for me.
Right.
I'll let you kind of riff off that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I mean, identity tied to work is one of the, I think, most dangerous things we've faced in this generation too, because it's like you now have relegated yourself to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on average, right? Like, oh, that's who I am. I am a delivery driver. I am a writer. I am all this different stuff. And it's like, dude, you are so much more. It's so broad to who you are as a person, right? You know, like you can't just put yourself in this box. And that's what people always ask you. They don't ask you like, who are you? They ask you, what do you do for a living? And so then it's like, okay, I'm going to answer, and you may not like it. Now you may think different of me because I answered that way. And instead, it should be like, dude, I'm an adventurer, right? Like, or whatever it is, fill in the blank for what you are. But that's like where my mind is. Like everything that I do, and this to be clear, my overarching thing that I am first is a Christian. Like,
right.
I don't want to be, I'm unapologetic about that. Like that's who I am. But all of that stair steps down. It's like, dude, an adventurer, I believe that's what God's called me to be to some degree. I don't know how it's going to portray itself. Maybe it is solely through like stuff that we create with Veritas, with our writing, with the podcast, with filmmaking, all that stuff. And that would be sick. But it's also like, dude, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop going on hikes with my daughter, you know, or climbing mountains or going out in the woods with my dogs. Because there's certain things that, I think it was you who said it in the first episode. If we're not getting connected with the outside world, something's going to go rotten in us. And I think that that's so true. And it all kind of just like, I don't know. It's just so crazy that we have decided that we spend 40 hours a week doing something, and that is who we have decided. Like, that's who we have to be now. Yeah, that's not right. I think your second favorite book of all time in the top 5. What
The Professional?
Was that? Yeah. I think you talked about that, how it's like this life is more than just what you like do with your career. You know,
right.
Like there's so much more to it.
Yeah, the concept of, you know, when you first meet somebody, what do you do? Being the question. Or I've heard this said, I wish I could credit where this idea comes from. I don't remember where it comes from, so apologies. If you know, you can comment for sure, let me know. But it's like for kids too, we ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? And the question should be like, what kind of person do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
What values are important to you? Do you want to be heroic? Do you want to be courageous? Do you want to be like loyal? Like what do you want to be as far as that goes? And, you know, that's a great question to ask a kid, and that's how you kind of want to build their mindset on who, or identity in general. But then when it comes to us as adults and where we are in our lives, we should be asking the same type of thing. It's like, I'm not a counselor or a driver or a writer or, you know, whatever. I'm trying to be like a good person in XYZ categories. Like I want to be this for my family. And I think you've already stated this, but I agree wholeheartedly of like, I think a part of this is we need to kind of find, and this is a major issue, dude. People don't know their values that well. Yet luckily, you and I can fall back on Christianity, but even still, that's like, still have to put in your work. That's weights sitting there.
Right.
And you can pick them up and use them, or you could just be like, yeah, the weights, if I need to get jacked, I got them. But you got to do something with that, and you can kind of get clear on what values mean the most to you. Because people used to have codes, like the Bushido, or, you know, the Code of Chivalry. Like, people knew.
The Code of the West.
The Code of the West. Like, people for sure knew, almost word for word sometimes, right, if it was biblical or something. They knew what they stood for. And what their lines were. And we don't have that anymore. We're just kind of, you know.
Waves washing on the ocean.
Yeah, we're just floating around, dude. We're just dust in the wind, man. And we're just not secure on who we are or what we believe in. I think that also plays into the whole quiet desperation of, you know, not knowing who you are is a major issue.
Yeah, dude, for real. Yeah, it is. It's just... I think this something you said earlier, and it ties in now too, reminded me of it. Like you said, the lions at the zoo, dude. I know it's sad watching that dog pace that line in there, but if I came back and he wasn't pacing, dude, I would
That'd
probably
be worse, yeah.
shed a tear. You know, it's like, and that's what I pray every day. It's like, at what point have I been beaten down enough by life that I'm like, all right, the adventure doesn't matter anymore. You know, like
Dude.
what point do
Yeah.
you lose sight of like, and maybe you are on this, like, here listening to this podcast because you've been feeling that way. Let us know. Reach out to us. Shoot us an email at the men's adventure fiction podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to talk about it because this is something that's super important to Luke and I. And on that note, something that you said where it was like, okay, what do you do? It reminded me of what we talked about on men's adventure fiction. What is men's adventure fiction? And then we kind of circle back around to that idea on what is men's adventure fiction for boys. It's like, dude, your answer should be, I'm a role model, right? Like, that's what I strive to be. And I think that
Right.
that's like so true to what you were saying. It would be very interesting to have a character in a book that had no sense of right or wrong. And he was just kind of going through it, you know, just like doing whatever the heck he wanted at any turn. And that would probably, like, it would be a compelling story because of the pure chaos, but it would
Yeah.
not be a compelling story because you'd be like, oh, I want to be like that guy when I grow up, you know, like there's nothing to strive for there. So I think that gets to the point of like, if you don't have your lines in the sand of where you're not willing to go past, then you can't be someone that other people look up to. Or if you are, everyone's going to be going to a bad place there, you know? Like, so I think that it's just really cool that you've brought that to light. Like, there's people in this world that need someone to admire, someone to look up to. And that's the whole point of these books. You know, that's why we
Right.
read these stories, is because these heroes are on the page. And that's sometimes all the person to look up to we have, you know, like it can be so devastating to have no one to look up to, and then you find solace in these books. I mean, and to that point, there's a lot of men's adventure fiction that's not great that you couldn't base your life off of, but I feel like this might be crazy to say. I truly believe that if you had your education from Louis L'Amour books of what it was to be a man, you would know, because it's very clearly like these are dudes who are unwilling to stray from what is right and what is true, and they're also willing to serve others and seek out the benefit of others. And I think that it comes back to like, dude, there's the responsibility that you have to do the right thing, right? And every one of Louis L'Amour's characters knows that, and they're never like they may be hesitant, but at the end of the day, they're like, man, I got to get in there and start swinging. You know, I got to be the man that I'm called to be. And I think that that's just such a good place to finally get to. And it is also like, to that point, I don't feel like I've gotten there. I feel like there's a bunch of times where I see the thing I should do and I'm like, not today.
Right.
I don't think I need to do that today. We'll be fine. We'll get through it. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy stuff.
Dude, great little speech. This is a time where I wish I could just shut my portion of the camera down and just listen and be a viewer and
That's
just
funny.
nice.
Thanks,
Because
dude.
that was awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. I think you could. I mean, it's almost Louis L'Amour's idea himself in Education of a Wandering Man of like,
Yeah.
dude, read enough books, live enough life, you're fine.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I agree with you. I think if you gave a kid, badoosh, here's the sackets, go read all these, and then have them kind of go off on, and that be their only lesson to manhood you ever gave them, and they went off
Yeah.
into the world, they'd be pretty set. They'd be pretty
I think
solid
so.
if they were willing to, if they liked it. I think this is a hurdle, especially that it like scares me as a parent, is like they have to value that though, for that to sink in that way. You
Right.
like that. You resonate with that. I do too. And so we read it and we're like, yeah. But if someone doesn't have the same value system, or like, you know, they think just getting more likes on TikTok is the sickest thing that they could possibly do because they're in middle school or something, then you give them Louis L'Amour, and they're like, this is dumb, this is boring, and then all the lessons are just gonna, oh, oops,
Exactly.
fly right in. Well said, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a disaster because it's not gonna stick. So that's the one issue, is you got to get them lined up on the values first, so that
Right.
they actually feel like there's some weight in what you're saying.
Right. Well, and I think that that's what's so good about this genre too, is that it's like we said, none of these things are heavy-handed in their lessons. You know, like they're all entertaining, and their goal is to be entertaining. But their goal is to show classic heroism, which is an incredible thing to do. I mean, that was part of why we wrote "Fighting Heart of Man," because we were like, dude, we need more heroes to look up to. We need more people to that really illustrate what it takes to fight through stuff. And this reminds me of another dog, dude. My dog Gruffy. He is a giant schnauzer, 95 pounds. He's in pretty decent shape, but this is the thing: as a dog owner, I am a terrible dog owner. Gruffy is supposed to get 2 hours of exercise outside a day. He probably gets somewhere in the 20 to 30 range, you know, and that's a good day. But my in-laws have a 45-acre farm in the middle of the woods, and they have a pond there. And when we go there, that dude, he literally jumps off the dock into the pond all day. He would do that all day. He loves running through the woods every single morning. Now that it's spring, he's sitting there in the morning at the door. We have a glass screen door. Let him out in the backyard. He's chasing after the rabbits in the backyard, dude. Mm-hmm. The poor rabbits are terrorized, but they keep coming back. I think they must like it. And so it's the same thing, dude. Every single day, that dog wishes he was out there fighting the good fight, whatever it is. Like, he wishes he was jumping off the dock, getting those sticks in the water. He wishes he was hunting down rabbits. And this is the problem. He doesn't get that every day. And so what he does all day, the poor bastard, is sitting there whining all day because the only thing he has to look forward to is his food. And he's not getting any food. And it's like, dude, how relatable is that?
Yeah,
like my whole entire life.
I'm sitting there whining.
I know, I'm crying for food. I want to be out there doing the adventures that I was made to do. Like, literally from the beginning of time, dude. Designed to go and find adventure, to find new worlds, to find new lands, to fight for survival. And instead, I'm stuck here hoping that my 9 to 5 gives me some sort of fulfillment. Yeah. Praying that my other time outside of it is worth the 40 hours a week, the 5 out of 7 days that I'm spending 8 hours doing something. And all the happiness I have is locked in a nice cheeseburger at the end of the day, maybe. You know, Gruffy, he's a little overweight. I can relate, dude. Mm-hmm. You got the food to look forward to. Food's what you want. And so I think that it's just like, dude, we've been so like cut down and boiled down to just like, all right, live for the weekends, live for the weeknights when you finally get to go home and see your family. Pray that I talked to my wife about this the other week. We were having some conversations about how she didn't feel like she was the number one priority to me. We have 2 kids. It's pretty new. With the second one, she's 3.5 months old or something like that. And I was like, dude, I feel like I've been prioritizing you so much. And she was like, I don't really feel that way. And I was like, every week that I don't go on some sort of adventure, I feel like I am not living true to the man that God made me to be. I feel like there's a massive part of me that's not getting fed, and isn't being who I should be. But this is where it gets tricky too. It's like, dude, right now my number one goal in life is not my fulfillment. My number one goal has to be my family and my wife and the betterment of that family and the betterment of my poor dog who needs 2 hours of exercise every day. So I think that that's where like we can shift this, right? Like it is, and this, I'm not going to say that spending like 3 hours watching your screaming baby is as fulfilling as climbing to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro or finding an ancient treasure, because like they're different things and they feed different things in a man's soul. But every day my prayer has been like, dude, help me to realize that the times that I'm spending where it feels like I should be banging my head against the wall because it's bored out of my mind with my 3-month-old daughter is something that I'm going to look back on in 20 years and be like, man, I wish I did more of that, you know? So I think that there's like, there's so many different sides to this conversation that are very hard to like really separate in your mind, you know?
Yeah, man. And this is why I think, you know, we're such good friends and why we relate to each other so much is you're my only friend with kids. And so I have the similar kind of like things with you where right now I told you about this. My kid wants to play this game where he hides what he's had, and it's like, dude, it's the most amazing like bond. And we're connected, and it's so great. We're playing together, and it's an adventure, and we're bringing out maps, and it's fun. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done playing this. And then he's like, again. And to your point, like I know with a smarter version of myself, a more wise version of myself, when I'm older, I'm gonna look back and be like, that is the whole reason you're here.
Right.
And but still, selfish young guy body and mind, I'm like, I already played it 3 or 4 times. It's been 45 minutes. I don't want to play it anymore in my head. It's like
Right.
So I'm struggling with those same types of things. And I really like how you said feeds different parts of the soul of a man, because dude, that is so well said. That makes so much sense to me, because it's just different. And people, it's like, oh, you got free time. If I was watching TV or something, that does not do it for me. It's like,
Right.
I need to like go out into the woods with nothing happening. Or like, that is what I'm kind of like. I need to feed that. When I say I need an adventure, I need like a day to myself type of thing. That's
Right.
If I just sat there watching Netflix, it will not hit the same as
I know.
going out in that manner.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the woods, but I have to feel like there's some sort of like possibility of danger, or like chance to be in some sort of like exciting situation. So like even walking through the city can be fun, but my favorite thing to do, and it's very hard to do, is like if I not like favorite over going out in the woods, but if I'm in a city, that's cool, because it's like, all right, I feel like I'm in a noir story. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. But this, like, in Lancaster, downtown Lancaster, dude, there's this one spot, and there's like a bank, and it's up a couple levels, but you can like climb up the back and sneak onto the bank. It's like, dude, next thing you know, I'm about to rob this place. not really. This cannot be used in court. But it's stuff like that. It's like, and this kind of talks back to what we were talking about with Reacher, just not being like locked into the societal constraints, dude. Yeah. There's people out there who are literally like doing parkour for a living, Right. They're just running around, jumping on stuff, climbing stuff. But every time I'm there's a part of me that's just maybe still a little too civilized. It's like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do when the cops come up. And like, am I gonna run? Am I gonna be like, I saw the dudes on YouTube do it. You can't arrest me. Like, what are you going to do? Like, so I think it's stuff like that. It's like, I need to get out there. I need to be doing something exciting. I need to be doing something like action packed, or I need to be sitting there smoking a cigar or a pipe, kind of thinking, like walking through the next steps on what I'm going to write in my book. And all of my writing is kind of the same sort of like wish fulfillment type of thing, where it's like, dude, there's adventure out there. There used to be adventure aplenty, dude. Like characters, I'm saying, like, they're real people, dude. People like Jim Bowie. I might have talked about this a couple weeks ago, I don't remember, but coolest story ever is that he invented the Bowie knife because he was in so many freaking duels that he was like, I need a knife that's better at killing people. Like, dude, that's crazy. He's a real human being who actually existed, and he was so good at fighting people that he decided to make a knife that was better to do that. It's like, dude, you know how far removed I am from that? There's no chance a knife's getting named after me. And that's why I'm the dog, dude. That's why I'm that dog in the cage. What happened to us? Where did the times take us?
Well, I think the other thing another angle of this that we have to recognize is, I bet you this has been going on since the dawn of time too. Yeah, and everyone thought they were the dog, because Jack London, Call of the Wild, I feel like that's exactly this conversation.
That's literally the story.
Right, but like, we are far removed from him. Like, we would look at his life and be like, dude, yeah, that's what I need. And then he's probably sitting like, nah, this isn't it. He's like, I'm not feeling it. I have to write Call of the Wild and express this pain.
Because I'm the dog, dude. We're literally, what's his name? Buck, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a really great point.
Yeah, so I think a part of it might just be, again, like a human experience of the same thing we're thinking with our kids, like, oh, I should put more value on this. We're just putting whatever kind of like thing we're not satisfied with. We're like, oh, it's just, it's because my heart is on like fire. So it could be partially that too, Right. Because I think we'd always find a reason to be. Although, this is one of the first things I came across when I was kind of like in one of my lower stages, very depressed as a younger man. And I was like looking stuff up on YouTube basically to try to like help myself and stuff. And I came across a video of Joe Rogan on depression, and I forget who his guest was, but they were talking about if you were like hunter-gatherers and stuff, and you were only focused on like, making sure the animal doesn't eat your family, and you have to go like get the food back so your kid can eat and survive, you wouldn't really have time to like get stressed about a lot of stuff we'd be stressed about or depressed about all this stuff, which we circled that point already. But it makes me think, I guess maybe there might be so far back in history a time where it was like,
just living.
I'm not really depressed. I don't know what that is. Like, if I live till 13, I'm gonna be good.
Like, there's been a meme that I've seen probably like 15 times now, and it's like, I can't remember who it's talking about. It's basically like, it's two characters, and the one is like a very somber, like stoic character, and the other is just like gushing, like this dude just gushing and looking like super embarrassed, and the caption is like, me explaining anxiety and depression to this Japanese emperor who lost like every one of his family members.
Christian Bale and Willem Dafoe. That meme.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Explaining my anxiety to a guy who saw his family, like, so I think there is a whole lot of that involved too, because the point still remains, and I still believe it, like our soul and our heart is like that. We have the same type of heart that David from the Bible had, and we are not doing the same type of living at all. In a lot of ways.
A really good quote that speaks to this. It is in Wild at Heart. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to bring up a point, though.
I actually found it.
Okay, go ahead. That was fast.
This is by G.K. Chesterton. This is a long quote, so hang with me. I don't think I've ever done this one. We did the quote episode, but I don't think I talked about it. Maybe I did, though. Courage is almost a contradiction in terms. It means a strong desire to live taking the form of a readiness to die. He that will lose his life, the same shall save it, is not a piece of mysticism for saints and heroes. It is a piece of everyday advice for sailors and mountaineers. It might be printed in an alpine guide or drill book. The paradox is the whole principle of courage, even of quite earthly or quite brutal courage. He can only get away from death by continually stepping within an inch of it. A soldier surrounded by enemies, if he is to cut his way out, needs to combine a strong desire for living with a strange carelessness about dying. He must not merely cling to life, for then he will be a coward and will not escape. He must not merely wait for death, for then he will be a suicide and will not escape. He must seek his life in a spirit of furious indifference to it. He must desire life like water, and yet drink death like wine.
Dude, furious indifference, the coolest phrase of all time. That's so sick.
There's your new Instagram caption, fellas.
Right.
I don't know.
That is. Wow.
Dude, I just totally neutered that quote by saying that. It's like...
You're the guy explaining it to them.
How far can we be from what we should be?
That's
for me?
So funny.
I think that quote is just... It encapsulates what it is that we're missing. Dude, when's the last time... And this was something that I tried to say earlier, but totally forgot. Alex Honnold had this quote, who's the guy who did free soloing El Capitan. He was like, we live in such a safe world that we start imagining dangers. Like, we're over here so worried about getting to the airport late. It's like, dude, if you get to the airport late, you've got food, you have shelter. You're literally going to be fine. Like, you might lose some money, but you're not. This is not something to get your blood pressure to like the highest realms for. And the reason that you do is because you've never actually faced real danger. Like, you've never done anything that, like, I could have died and I made it out, and now like everything's in perspective. Like, I was late for work. I'm not dead. I could have been dead.
Right.
But go ahead.
That's where we've talked about this, where, and like I think the most recent example that we talked about was probably when my laptop got murdered, and I'm able to shrug those things off, not because I put myself in a dangerous situation, but because my health has put me in the situations where, because of my heart condition and different things that have happened, I could have died, and like they were like, the clots, for example. That's when they told me if I didn't work out the way I did, I would have been dead.
Dude, that's crazy.
And then, kind of around that time too, that I had a clot in my heart that was like super big, and it was like we need to do surgery now type of situation. So those times have made me on the other side see stuff like a laptop getting destroyed and be like, dude, like, you know what I mean? You get perspective, and people get that in different ways. Like military, I'm sure gives you this. To your point, if you go put yourself in dangerous situations, say you join a combat sport, like there are ways to get that perspective and that kind of like, I think Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler School's channel put it really well when he said it's kind of like I think he said it was like cowboy cool. He has a video on this, but like that cowboy temperament of like, it's fine, like,
Yeah.
relax. And I'm not fully there. I'm not saying that, but like, because I definitely get stressed out about little things, like the little like, those are what get me when it's a big like, oh, your laptop got destroyed, or like, you know, you missed your flight, like those types of situations. I'd be like, psh, whatever. But it's the little like gat, 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 gat throughout the day that'll just piss me off. But
yeah, I always think that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't care what happens. And then something, I had this whole fiasco, and I talked to you about this a bunch with my phone, and I had to get a new phone, and I had to reset my old phone, and I didn't make sure everything was backed up right. And it was just like the realization of my own stupidity was what made me, like, usually I feel like not anything can happen. I'm like, oh well, there's no use crying over spilled milk. But this one was like, dude, I literally dumped the milk out. Like, I'm an idiot. I can't cry about that. I got to cry about how stupid I am. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But I agree. It's like, dude, yeah, it would be so nice to have that furious indifference to that you don't even care about anything else. But then it's like, dude, just little things catch you. It's like, come on, man.
yeah, that's the problem. I need to get better at that. Like I guess it comes out in my temper, or like just my frustration tolerance is just so low compared to what I would like it to be. Because big things happen. I do need a minute though. Like I'll be pissed for about like 30 minutes, and then I'm just, all right, whatever, it's broken. What am I gonna do?
I can't.
But it's like the frustration tolerance. I look back and roast myself in that same manner where it's like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like throwing a tantrum over like stuff, you know? I sometimes feel like I do that too much, and I think it's along those same lines of just, you know, not feeling like you know, it's like for some reason I'm blaming it that I'm not who I need to be. Like if I was, you know, then this wouldn't be a problem, kind of thing.
Right.
Which a lot of the time is just, you know, made up in your head. To that free solo guy's point, we make problems up and we like get all worried about stuff, you know, that is just not even real.
Right. I think that ties in, because this is something that I think about all the time. I feel like most of the time I don't do stupid things. And then that can kind of like snowball into me thinking that I have it figured it out. I look in the mirror like, dude, you're the comprehensive man. Luckily for me, God has really made sure that I just put my foot in my mouth pretty often. Like once or twice a month where I just say the stupidest thing of all time. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not the comprehensive man. I can stop thinking I'm so cool. Like I can calm down. This is good. This is good news. And I think that's like, I mean, we've talked about different things where there was times that happened in my life where I felt like I should have acted and I didn't. And it's like, dude, you're not defined by one single moment. What was the Spencer Dutton quote that you talked about? Where he was like,
are you talking about the one that's like you won't feel, or like the most you'll feel alive is when you're dying?
No, he said something to the Italian dude.
Oh yeah, you're not defined by the things you do most often. It's by the things you don't do. Is that quote?
Yeah. Or it was something like not defined by the things that happen to you or something like that. But I think you said it right. But yeah, I think that it's like, every single moment is a chance to be the person. And I think that's like, I always kind of hate the stories that are about cowards, because they're always just like, it's tough to ask yourself that question. Be like, dude, would I be a coward? Like, who knows what might happen? But I do love to see that it's like small, like in these characters who have been defined by this phrase, they can always make the choice to stop doing that. You know, like every single day is a new option. And this is true of like anything that you struggle with. If you're now defined by this, every single chance you get, you can choose to be better. You know, like you said, it's the mindset of like, oh, I'm not who I should be, or I'm not the man that I should be. It's like, luckily we never will be, you know, we're never going to arrive. And it's every single day that you see that illustrated that you can be like, all right, here's a new thing to learn, you know, like here's a new way. Like, if you're smart enough about it, you'll always have something to keep thinking about it and work on. Otherwise, you could just keep doing stupid stuff for a long time and not realize it.
Yeah, I guess this brings us into, I guess like positive stuff. Our suggestions, like for people
Yeah.
feeling this way, for ourselves, as we're talking through this stuff. Like,
Right.
I don't know. One thing I for sure would recommend on my side of the conversation is the boxing gym scenario.
Yeah.
I do that once a week, and I can't really describe exactly what it feels like, but it's almost like cathartic slash like the feeling of if you're like super gross and then you take a shower, and you're like, oh, it feels
Yeah.
so good. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
feeling every time
That's
I go to
cool.
the gym and you're in that situation and it's like high velocity and, you're doing something physical and you're pushing yourself and your cardio is redlining. It's like, I don't know, something about that. It just helps me get through like the work week and all the, stuff where I'm sitting at the same desk inside of a small little room, white walls, blue screen in my face. Like it helps me kind of recover from that mentally or like get prepared
Yeah.
for it because I do it on Tuesdays. And I can like get through that by building up this store of masculine energy or whatever it is that comes from the boxing gym. So I do recommend something like that, like finding where you're, and I don't even mean just like alone working out. Like that is a big part of it too. Sure, do that.
Right.
But find a community where you're with other guys, like and doing stuff. Even if it is, I think Nathaniel, I've seen you hike a lot with friends and like different guys.
Yeah.
Do that. Be with men doing something physical. I think there's something to that. Like
Yeah.
we weren't lone. We're not supposed to be lone wolves. We did a whole episode on this.
Right.
Being around a group of dudes helps.
Yeah. That's a great choice. I think that like exercising, especially with other dudes, you can really start pushing each other further than you could
Right.
by yourself because you get that like competition, but also just like, yeah, dude, you're more capable to do this. So at that point, like going to a climbing gym with other people that you're friends with, that can be really sick. You can really get pushed to like harder grades and higher levels. So that's really cool. But I also think to the point of like hiking, I will say one of the coolest adventures I ever had was hiking with my one friend, and we were going through like this crazy climbing scenario to get down to this canyon, and it was just so sick. And it was cool to see someone else who's like also like locked into doing dangerous things and loves
Yeah.
doing it. It's like, yeah, dude, there's my people. Like I know that I'm not the only one kind of like trapped in this mindset. But I think also going and doing like not being afraid to do dangerous things by yourself is a good thing too. Like I love going on hikes, and almost every time I don't like hiking because I like to hike. I like hiking because I like to find the cool cliffs on the middle of the hike that I can climb up around and move around and try and find like new places to explore and new things that are kind of sketchy that I have to get up and do. So that really just makes me feel like I come alive. I remember one time I was delivering to a student housing for a hospital, and I was just like there late at night, and I was pissed off that everything was going so badly. And I like looked, and it looked really easy to get up on top of the student housing. I was like, what the hell, let's do it. So I literally climbed up there, and I got all the way like 3 stories up to the top of this thing. I was like sneaking around, and that was so much fun because there's like the added danger of there's probably school security that's walking
Right.
around, and they might yell at me, and then I gotta book it out of here. So it's just stuff like I'm not over here saying go trespass. Be careful with that. But like I said, you saw the YouTube people. Just say the YouTube people did it. You can't arrest me. But I think that it is just like putting yourself in, obviously, to the point of that G.K. Chesterton quote. Don't be a coward. Don't be a suicide. Don't be so willing to die that you kill yourself trying to do something dangerous
Right.
and cool. But put yourself in controlled things that challenge you, which is what Luke, I feel like that's the whole point of the boxing gym. It's
Right.
like, this is controlled to a point where I'm not going to die, but it puts me in a position that when the actual thing happens, I'm ready to do it. Like I'm ready to fight somebody. Or I'm ready to, like the one time we were exploring in a abandoned place, and my brother like offhandedly looked at this chimney that was a little ways away from the top of this mansion, and he was like, dude, I wonder if you could jump to that. I was like, hey, that's a good
gonna
idea.
find
He was like, no, what did I do? You're like, you're gonna kill yourself. And then I was able to do it, and it was really cool. And
I've also been in that scenario where I was like, no, you're going to kill yourself. Don't do it. And then you did it, and it just looked cool. And I was like, well, never mind. When you jumped from the top of that thing and did a roll into the...
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing is like, and this is the thing that's true of boxing too, like watching you do the fight scenes and when we were filming, it's like, dude, this guy knows what he's doing, you know? So like if I'm at a place and I'm with Luke and a bunch of guys come to jump us, it's going to be like a reacher scenario. Luke's going to be like, all right, I'm going to take you out. You're done. And that's what's cool. It's like I wouldn't be able to do the stuff that I did if I hadn't put myself in controlled situations where I did that previously. Yeah. To the same point, like if you don't train for fighting or train for boxing, you may be gifted with like reflexes and stuff, but you may not know what to do when you need to do it. So I think it is kind of like building up to more and more kind of like sketchy things. And to the, like Alex Honnold's point, I mean, that dude literally is climbing a whole entire massive mountain without any ropes, just because he knows what he's doing, because he's done it so much with ropes, with training, that he is able to do that. I'm not saying like go become the next free solo climber. I mean, that would be cool if you did. Yeah. do what you feel called to do. But I think that's just, I don't know.
Being out in nature, that's big, you know, by yourself or with people. I think both of our points are around being outside, being in nature. There's something super restorative to like going outside. By water for me particularly. I don't know why I love like rushing water, dude. Give me a river. Oh yeah, I'm done. Done for. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I think also like taking classes for stuff that is the stuff that we would have done if we had lived when we were like hunter-gatherers. Like maybe there used to be people who would go on mushroom tours in Colorado where you would literally go and you learn how to forage mushrooms, you know. Or you could take like a 3-gun class, you know, something like that where it's like, okay, now I'm getting competent with using weaponry. There's stuff like that I think about, like for me, something that's been really kind of nice for me has been doing more dry fire training with my carry gun that I have all the time. I think I talked about it on the boys episode. There's a little laser sight thing that goes in. It's the exact size of the 9mm round, and I've got a target. And it's like, dude, training that, it makes you feel like you're closer to who you want to be. You know, like it brings the adventure to everyday life. And I could do that every day, but do I do it? Like every day I do it, I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I'm so much more the man I want to be. And then I forget about that because it's inconvenient to do all the switching around of everything and set up the target. But it's like, I think that's what you said too earlier about Jack London writing Call of the Wild. Like maybe it is, obviously there's some degree of like, this is impossible to do in this day and age, but there's also a degree of like, don't let the societal norms constrict you. And I'm saying this to me. I literally started the episode saying like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm not just like crazy doing all sorts of adventurous stuff, because it is possible. I could be one of those pro parkour athletes, you know?
Yeah, man. Limiting yourself, or like even just mentally blockading, you know, being like, oh, I can't do that for X, Y, and Z reason. We'll find a way. Like if it's me for anything with heights, I'll find an excuse. You know what I mean? I'll be like, well, you know, I don't even go with if I fall. Like I could come up with any excuse. And same with like the boxing. A lot of people, when you tell them that, or anything like weightlifting, they're either like, oh, I don't have money, I can't go to a gym. Well, there's free gyms. Also body weight. Like there are ways. Do the best option you have available. That's the point, is like push yourself and start somewhere. And don't let these constraints, you know, that either you put on yourself or whatever, don't let that hold you back. Find the best possible solution forward, because that is how you keep, you know, running and keep from sitting and becoming domestic. Dude, cannot say that word. Domestic. Nope, not gonna happen. Domesticated. Dude,
domesticated.
Can't do it.
I can't even say it anymore.
That's what I mean. I lost it. That word's gone. It just left my brain. Nope.
I think it's domesticated.
There you go. Domesticated.
But I'm not sure.
I kept
anymore.
putting the C before the T. That's hilarious.
Man, I had the thought that I was.
It's too late, guys. It's almost midnight. I'm not thinking anymore.
Oh, damn it! What was I gonna say? Hold on, let me.
Gotta recollect ourselves after domesticated, dude.
That's too funny.
Brain's malfunctioning, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this part out. Also, I think that it's like, and this can obviously be taken out of. out of context and utilized very poorly. And I think that it is. I think it's the classic, like, oh, my adventure is doing the dishes, like, oh, my adventure is doing all this. And I think that if you do that as an excuse to not do the actual, like, dangerous, hard things in your life, then it's poorly done. But I think that if you look at, it was what we were talking about earlier with the code, having morals, stuff that you stood by. It's like, above all else in those, it's doing the things that you don't want to do because they're the right thing to do. Like, it doesn't matter, no matter what it is that you want to do, to be closer to the comprehensive man, closer to this person who used to exist and is in our DNA to be. It's facing the hard things that you don't want to do and doing them well with your whole heart. And I think that that's like, you could go deep into what is absolute truth, should there be absolute truth, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you as a person know what the right thing is to do and you seek to do it no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you don't want to, that's when you're doing the right thing, and you're being closest to the person you should be, I think.
Yeah, dude, perfectly said. I think that rounds us out right at about an hour, too. Yeah. Perfect send away. That was awesome.
To be clear, I am very bad at that. I have a very hard time handling that, so that was for me. I wasn't trying to be like,
all in progress.
I know what I'm
That's
doing.
We're all in the progress of becoming who we want to be. It's going to be a lifelong process too. So,
dude, every day,
every
day you're figuring it out.
Hopefully working on it.
But definitely, and this kind of like to reiterate that these stories really do tell the type of stories about how to do stuff like this, how to become kind of the comprehensive man, stuff to look up to, stuff about heroism. Definitely go to Veritas. Veritas's Instagram. It's veritas.entertainment is the Instagram handle. And check out that giveaway. There's some really sick stuff going on there that definitely hits true to all of this. And I think you guys are just going to love it. I mean, we started it last week, and it's going live for Men's Adventure Fiction May, so there's a little bit of time left still to get on it, so don't hesitate, don't miss out on it. Very, very awesome tools to help you kind of stop being the dog in the cage and start being the dog on the hunt.
This is the starter pack for,
dude.
for Call of the Wild to get your buck going.
Yeah, dude. Very cool. I think for end segment, and I'm going to put you on the spot, dude.
All right.
I want you to pick up Fire in the Tall Grass and flip back to that essay you wrote about the true heroism.
Oh, why classic heroism matters?
Yeah, dude. You got to read that.
Read it?
Yeah, man.
All
Lay it on them. Lay it on the people, dude.
It's a little long, so tuck yourself
It's a masterpiece, though.
I appreciate you. I said there's a thread that runs through the fabrics of classic heroism, a thread we dare not let unravel. It's the power of sincerity, the bedrock of traditional masculinity elements that, for all progress, we cannot afford to lose. The cost of such loss would be far greater than we might initially think. It would signal not just the weakening of the warrior spirit, but the very dissolution of man himself. For when the fighting heart is made to wither, so too does the essence of what it means to be a man, and with it the core of our strength and resilience. A boy, when reaching for entertainment, will end up pulling near to himself a role model. Intentioned or not, he is examining a philosophy, a worldview. The hero he chooses to admire will cast a long shadow, one filled with ideals and beliefs about life, values that will seep into the boy's soul. A few questions to the reader of this piece are: what lessons will he take away? What will he learn about himself and the world he's stepping into? What role is he meant to play? And most crucially, why does he matter? The answers to these questions will shape not just the boy, but the man he will become, and in turn, the world he will help to build. I won't pretend to know how you'd answer those questions, but I'd bet good money you say that it all comes down to the stories the boy consumes. On that, I'm in full agreement. It's why I believe with every fiber of my being that a boy must be seeped in tales of classic heroism. It's not merely important, it's essential. He needs to see men of moral clarity, dangerous men who are willing to have bloody confrontations with evil simply because it is the right thing to do. Classic heroism provides the answers to those vital questions, brimming with lessons that are timeless as they are essential. When a boy immerses himself in such stories, he stands to gain much in appreciation for the value of a moral code, the exhilaration and worth of adventure, the principles of honor and courage, and perhaps above all, the necessity of taking decisive action. These narratives will reveal to him that evil is no mere abstraction, but a palpable force in the world. He will come to grasp his own significant role, the burden of personal responsibility, and the imperative to lead. More than that, he will unearth the profound truth that his life is imbued with meaning. He'll realize that within him lies dormant the potential of a hero, a deep-seated duty to rise and protect the innocent. He will learn that he has, beating in his chest, the same fighting heart of man.
Dude. Roll credits. A masterpiece, man. I think that's just, it speaks for itself. Well written. I
appreciate you, dude. Yeah, thank you. I do believe in this genre. That's why we're here. I know you believe in it the same way, you know. They're words I wrote, but they're coming out of your brain and your mouth too, you know what I mean? Like, we've said all this stuff.
Not so eloquently, though. well said, dude.
I don't speak this eloquently either. I gotta put it into writing if I'm gonna do that. But I have enjoyed this conversation greatly, so thank you for all you guys watching. Thanks for indulging this kind of different episode for sure. Hopefully you guys got something out of it, and leave your comments, tell us where you're at with the dog in the cage,
Yeah, for sure. And definitely sound off about stuff that's helped you process all of this stuff, because we love to hear it. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I told my wife, every week that I don't go on an adventure, I feel like something's not right inside of me. So if you've got a good remedy, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. But thank you guys for being here. It's always a blast.
Take care. All right, fans of adventure fiction, of treasure hunting, of swashbuckling, gunslinging, you name it, we need your help. All right, because our good friend, Brina Williamson, a member of the Discord, is running a Kickstarter right now for her Morona Grant series for an audio drama, and I'm talking serious audio drama.
Yeah.
Like, the first episode is released, so if you're like, I'm not sold, I'm not giving you my money, go watch listen to the first audio drama episode, and it will blow your expectations out of the water. This thing was sweet. The whole Discord was having a back and forth about how amazing this was. This is truly something the genre needs. It's something special. It's super, super engaging, and she's at I think a little bit over or at 50% right now, and it ends very soon. So we're calling all adventure fans to step up and kind of help out with this situation, and get that to the finish line, because this is something that needs to be made. I think it'll be fantastic for the genre. So
yeah, it's through, I believe it's Invictum Digital.
Okay.
Really great company. He's just an incredible sound engineer. The stuff that he does is amazing. So he's directing it. The pilot has already won a bunch of awards.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like it's
so good.
A bunch of podcasts, gauntlet stuff, and it's done really, really well. So it has that as the background, and it is the, I guess, dramatization of her book, her first Morona Grant book. So if you've read that book, if you were interested in that book, this is one way to get it going. Subscribe or jump into the Kickstarter, check it out. Also, we talked about it a little in the podcast. The giveaway is live, so follow Veritas Entertainment and WESN Goods on Instagram to win the Microblade from them. And Treasure is My Trade, the first Nate Colt novel, Fire in the Tall Grass, the first Noah Redford novel, and Fighting Heart of Man, our short story collection. It's
Heck yeah.
just getting started for men's adventure fiction May, baby. Doesn't get
Kicking
much
things
better
off.
than this.
Heck yeah.
Guardian is this week's secret phrase, but we'll see you next week.
See you soon.
You of course know Socrates.
Of course.
Did you know he wrote scrolls?
No, I don't think that he did. I was under the impression that all of his philosophizing was carried down to us by his followers.
A common misconception.
Ah.
That's why you're here, Mr. Cole. To find the scrolls.